Today we are decorating the dining room, which is the last space that I have to decorate for Christmas, which means now I can just kick back, relax, and enjoy the month of December with a beautifully decorated home. I'm going to show you how I created this elegant centerpiece, an entire nativity display with wreaths on my sconces. I'm going to be putting up my Christmas countdown clock, showing you how to drape a garland over the top, and then I decorated a mini thrifted Christmas tree. We're going to start off by making some topiaries that I'm going to put on the top of a large glass vase. I got a styrofoam ball from Michael's that I covered in pieces of pine garland. I have been using gold beaded garland this entire Christmas season, so it only makes sense that I use it on these to tie everything together. I got this particular gold beaded garland at Target. I took the end of the gold garland, placed a floral pin on the garland, and then pressed them both against the styrofoam ball to hold the beaded garland in place. Then I made a dip and brought it back up and adhered it to the styrofoam ball with another floral pin. Once I got back to the original starting point, I just began to do that same process again, only this time my dips were a little more shallow so that they would run along the top portion of my first row of garland. Once I was done with the second row, I started on a third. I did it the exact same way, using the floral pins to adhere the garland to the styrofoam ball as I went. Now, I like to cover up the mechanics of things. I don't like to see where things are attached. So I'm going to make some bows to put over the top of where the beaded garland is attached to the styrofoam ball. So I made a large white bow and I got a floral pin, placed it in the center, and then pressed it into the styrofoam ball. I did not want to leave the center of the bows plain, so what I did was I got a few frosted leaves, a gold stem of berries, another bow that I created with a white and gold polka dot ribbon. I'm going to put all those together and then get a floral pin and place it in the center of the bow to create a beautiful design element that adds a unique detail to the center of the bow. I did two different styles of bows. I did the large white one, and then I did this second one, which is a little bit smaller. I didn't want to have giant bows everywhere, so I did one that was just a little bit smaller. I made this bow with a white and gold ribbon, and in the center I did some more of those frosted leaves, and then this time I chose to use some ornaments. I just gathered a bunch of ornaments and placed it underneath the frosted leaves and placed it in the center of the bow. Then I placed a few hanging crystals from the topiary ball. I got some fishing line and I threaded it through the crystal and pressed the top of the fishing line into this topiary ball. And then a final touch was to add a few gold berries at the top. These vases are quite large and I needed to fill the center with something. So I got some gorgeous crystal snowflake ornaments from Home Goods. I threaded a white ribbon through the ornament and then attached it to the bottom of the styrofoam ball so it could hang in the center of the vase. It's an elegant touch and it has a beautiful sparkle, but most importantly, it fills the empty space in the space with a unique creative piece. And then at the bottom of the vases, I filled it with that Epsom salt snow. I have used that Epsom salt pretty much everywhere in all of my jars, so I thought it was only fitting that I put it in these vases as well. Now that my topiaries are all finished, I placed them on a marble tray and then I layered two wreaths together. I put a pine wreath on the bottom and a gold bottle brush wreath over the top. Adding layers like this combine textures and colors, which make this piece very custom. Because I have my two tall topiaries on either end of the table, I decided to do a shorter piece in the center. Now I have one reindeer. He is the quintessential definition of a stag. He has yet to find his mate. So I haven't really known what to do with him until I saw my sleigh, and I thought he can pull the sleigh by himself. So the first thing I did was I took this sleigh and I put a bag inside. And if those boxes look familiar, it's because we created those last week on my Cricut Maker, and I loved them so much that I decided to make a whole lot more in a variety of different sizes. I placed a few in the bag and they have even spilled out onto the ground. To create the reindeer harness, I am again using that gold beaded garland. I took some floral wire and I wired it around one of the gold beads and attached it to the sleigh, and then brought it up and attached it to the ribbon that I have around his neck, and then I repeated the process on the other side. And just like that, I have a solution for my solo reindeer. So if you don't have a set, you can always have one reindeer pull a sleigh. He's strong enough, he can do it. The other things that I have on my centerpiece are some bottle brush trees, and then I have a few glass trees as well. On either side of my riser, I put some frosted leaves, and then I put a few reindeer picks to tie in with my reindeer theme, and then I put a few pine cones in the center. This centerpiece is so beautiful. It's elegant and rustic at the same time. I've used elements that are unique to this room, but also that tie in with the decor in the rest of the house. My video today is part of a collaboration with just one other YouTube friend. It's Teresa from our Greene Acres. Now, if you don't know Teresa, she is the sweetest. I just adore her personally, and I also love her style. It's kind of a shabby chic with a French country twist. It's so classy. I get a lot of inspiration from her. I will leave a link to Teresa's channel in my description box, as well as a pinned comment. So make sure that you head on over and see what she created for Christmas. Last year, I created this Christmas countdown clock, and it immediately became one of my all-time favorite pieces for Christmas. My little ones love moving the hand every morning. It's just a treasure. Another one of those repeating elements that I have used in my Christmas decorations this year are asymmetrical garland designs. So of course it would only make sense that I did it on this as well. I first placed a pine garland that had some twinkle lights inside, and then I got my gold beaded garland. I started at the far corner. I attached the end of the gold garland to the pine garland by simply taking a pine branch and wrapping it around the gold beaded garland. I made a dip and went about 2/3 of the way across the top. I attached it to the pine garland and then made another dip and attached it to the far left corner by wrapping another pine branch around it. Then I went back the other way and made a shallower dip to go above the first dip. I attached everything together by simply using the pine branches that were on the pine garland. To cover up the places where everything is attached, I'm again going to be using some bows. I created some bows and I attached them to the garland with the pine branches right where the gold beaded garland was attached to the pine garland. Then I added some poinsettias, gold berries, a variety of ornaments, some crystals hanging from fishing line, and 2 beautiful tassels. Now this is a thrifted collab, and yes, I do have a thrifted piece. It is this mini Christmas tree. I got it at my local thrift store and it was only $3.50, which is a great deal. One thing that I did not like about this Christmas tree was that it had a burlap base and it was not the sturdiest tree. It kept toppling over. So to remedy both of these problems, I got this white container and I placed an upturned votive candle holder into the bottom to add some height. Then I placed my thrifted tree inside of the container and ta-da, a thrifted makeover. Now, I know it's not the most elaborate thrifted makeover that I've ever done, but guess what? It's Christmas time and this tree was pretty good to begin with, so it didn't need a whole lot of tweaking. So once it was in my container, I decorated it with some beautiful ornaments, some hanging crystals, a few gold berries, and then for my tree topper, I'm using another one of those crystal snowflakes, the same ones that I used inside of my vase. I attached it to the top, and this beautiful tree is complete. To cover up the base of the stand and also to kind of hide the cords, what I did was I just got some empty boxes and I wrapped them in some wrapping paper and tied some gold bows around it. I love the way that these presents look down here. They give additional height to the tree, they cover up the ground, and it gives this space an additional holiday touch. Now it's time to move on to the back wall, which is where I have my nativities set up. For me and my family, the true meaning of Christmas is the birth of Christ, and so I wanted to make sure that I had a beautiful display of all of my nativities. My collection keeps growing, which is a great thing, but I needed to spread it out a little bit more this year, and so placing it on top of this buffet area is perfect. What I did was in the center, I got a lantern and I placed Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus inside of this lantern, and then I spaced out the remaining characters around this lantern. I also added several other of my nativities that I've collected over the course of several years and in my travels. On either side, I also have a framed picture of Mary and the baby Jesus, as well as a very poignant scripture. To the top of my buffet, I added some twinkle lights, and to soften the lights just a bit, I added some polyfill to go over the top of the lights. At night, it just looks heavenly. It looks like everything's floating, and it adds a soft ambient light to highlight these nativities. I wanted to do something fun and unique with these candle sconces that I have on either side of my oil painting. And if you remember, a few weeks back, I decided to put some teardrop swags underneath some lantern sconces in my family room. And so I didn't want to mimic that same look, but I wanted to do something fun and exciting. So I thought that putting a wreath behind this sconce would be a great alternative. I simply took a pine wreath, wrapped a gold and white sparkly ribbon around it, and then placed them behind the candle sconce. I attached them to the top of the sconce by simply wrapping one of those pine branches around the metal portion of the sconce. To decorate my pine wreath, I'm going to be using a variety of ornaments, a few botanicals, and then to tie in my teardrop swags with these wreaths, I'm going to add that same Merry Christmas ribbon to the top. I absolutely love the way that this dining room looks. Not only did it complete my Christmas decorating, but it is a show-stopping space. I used the same elements here as I did in the rest of the home, but I added some unique elements so this space has its own personality. So now that this last room is finished, it's time for a Christmas home tour. There are a few spaces that you have not seen. You haven't seen the former living room. I have 3 giant trees in there, and you also haven't seen my family room tree. You can get a little bit of a sneak peek right there over my shoulder. So I am also going to show you how I decorated some shelves in there. I've got a lot more to show you, and then we'll be able to take a tour and see everything that we've created over the course of probably 6 weeks. So it's a big culmination. Come back next week and check that out. If you can't wait until then, come on over and visit me on Instagram. I put sneak peeks there, and you can see different pictures of my house from different angles. So I would love to see you over there. I hope you got some inspiration from this dining room makeover that you can incorporate into your own holiday decorating. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.